Welcome to another episode of the Booktroverts podcast with your two favorite gals. I'm Michaela.
I'm Meg.
And today we are chatting about How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Meghan Quinn and The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. As a quick rundown, we will be sharing the book description, our overall ratings, and then we kind of broke those down into different categories, thoughts on the plot and characters, and whether or not we think it lives up to the holiday season hype. We will be sharing spoilers, so just be warned if you have not read the books yet. All right, so let's jump into book one, which is The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. So Kira North hates Christmas, which is unfortunate since she just bought a Christmas tree farm in a town that's too cute for its own good. Bennett Ellis is on vacation in Dream Harbor, taking a break from his life in California, and most importantly, taking a break from his latest run of disastrous dates. After a run-in with Kira in her fields, Ben has no intention of offering to help the grumpy owner set up her tree farm, despite the fact she's clearly got no idea what she's doing. Kira knows she should stop being so stubborn, but her farm is not all cute and cozy like people always show on social media. It's borderline dangerous with no heating, and she'd rather no one saw it. But somehow fate finds Ben at Kira's farm once more, and as Kira watches him swing an axe at the first tree, she finds herself appreciating his strength and questioning why she refused help in the first place. All right, let's break down the individual ratings first before we do the overall. So what did you think, or what did you rate the characters out of 5?
I rated it a 4.
Okay, I did the same, so we're already
Okay.
same wavelength there. Okay, moving on to Spice.
I did 3, but I think that might be a little bit too high. But I'll see what you have.
I did 2. I know we'll go into it further, but I just felt really abrupt when the first scene happened, and there was only a couple scenes in there.
Agreed. Yep.
Okay. Plot.
I did a 3.
Okay, close. I did 2.5. So again, we're similar. Banter.
I did it 2, and my comment here is just I didn't really think there was a lot of banter, so it was different than the others. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I did it 2 as well, and I literally wrote, did it feel like they didn't say much to each other? So I agree. It didn't feel like there was much banter between the two of them. And then what did you rate it overall?
I did a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did a 3. So middle of the line for me.
Yeah.
Not bad, not amazing.
I keep forgetting to do decimals. So I keep forgetting to do, I can do a 3.75. For me, I'm just going Goodreads in my mind, and I shouldn't. I should really just expand the horizons on this pointing system. So I'm just going to say that with a caveat on mine. Probably bumped it up, rounded.
You need to be thinking more Fable, less Goodreads.
Yes, agreed.
All right. Well, I think it's easier if we go through each of the characters and talk about them. So we can start with Kira. What were your thoughts on her?
I liked how she was crazy and just said, threw caution to the wind and said, I'm just going to leave and go buy this farm with my trust. Who cares? I'm just going to do it. And then we find out farther along that I think she donated the rest of it to a good cause and everything, which I think was cool too. But it was so interesting how she just said, all right, I'm going to go for it. I looked at a couple Instagram accounts and like this vibe, going to be chic and everything. She was just funny. I think she held the story for me, in all honesty. I liked her background more. Mm-hmm. The stuff with how her sister moved on, and they're twins, so even more of the close knit there. So I really liked her. I didn't have much to say, and I feel like that's going to be a theme. So take this for granted. Of my comments are just, I liked it. That's it. Because it was such a cute story, and each person had their own personality. One thing I really did like about her, though, was the needing to prove to herself that she was capable of doing something, because everything was given to them, living off the daddy's money, all that stuff. So I like that she was able to do that for herself. Even if she got help along the way, it still was good for her. So That was what I had. I didn't have a lot, so I'm curious if you had more.
No, I agree. It's just, I feel like this book is more for the vibes, less for the plot. So
Agreed.
I'll probably have the same things. We're like, it was good. Um,
Yeah.
I agree with you though. I really liked her backstory and how she found her way into owning the farm, and I like that
Yeah.
she was kind of an outsider from the town. And I really like that the author, granted, she pushes these out pretty quickly, but I like that she capitalizes on things that are trendy in culture and puts them into the book. Because like the
Yeah.
homesteading trad wife thing is really popular on Instagram with like the Nara Smiths and the ballerina farms and people just learning to like make their own food and homeschool their kids, and they're just like running their own homes.
Yeah.
So I did think that was funny how she just like got influenced by those Instagram videos and then purchased this farm without ever seeing it and had no clue it was a Christmas tree farm. I did think it was a little bit weird how she was so close with her twin sister. Like she talked about just feeling really dependent and like her life was completely altered when her sister moved away. But then she said she had only met the sister's husband once, which was at the wedding, and she didn't know anything about their love story. So I feel like that was like a little disconnect in her backstory for me.
Yeah. Agreed.
But agreed with you that like I really enjoyed and appreciated that she was really trying to change and wanting to learn how to be independent. That was very consistent with all the decisions she made throughout the book. She never really wavered in that. So I liked her as a main character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she did good. And like you said, these are definitely cozy feel for the vibe books. And that's why too I was just, yeah, you know what? The characters were okay. It was cute, but I liked it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like she was really good. So I liked her in the story. It's just not as powerful, I think, as some other main characters that we've read in different
Yeah.
books, which is fine. I was totally cool with it.
No, I
So,
completely agree.
yeah.
And then we have Bennett, who is our male main character. So what did you think of him?
I liked him, and I wrote this down a few times in my notes. Was I we always get a grumpy or a really goofy main character. And I really liked how he was just generally nice and dorky and unique in his own way. It was different than I guess what I've been reading recently, so I kind of liked it. It was a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I liked it. He definitely had that puppy dog vibe. I mean, granted he had 3 dogs too, so I feel like he just lives that life. But he definitely had that vibe of he's willing to help out. He definitely is a fixer. That's a huge thing. That's pretty much, I think, his side of the plot is he's just willing to jump in and fix things regardless. Which I will say, I don't know if you got this, but kind of seems like a trend with this series is the guys are definitely jumping in at times to willing to fix things, help out, all of that stuff. So I don't know. Seems like that's the vibe for overall for the male characters in the
Yeah, I
books.
agree.
But I just liked him. He was adorable. I said, okay, this is cute. I really like him, and I wish we had more though, because the only thing that for him was his ex or I don't know, the
Nicole.
girl he was, yeah, Nicole. Yeah, I don't even know if they would technically call it an ex, but that was the big thing for him. And I wish there was a little bit more. I would have liked something else to be there. So lacking in that sense, but it was cute enough for the book.
Yeah. I wrote that when he was looking at all of her candles and they were like enemies to lovers, morally gray, and then the cinnamon roll one, that instantly I said that is the trope that he is. Just such a
Yep.
cinnamon roll. Like there was nothing bad about him because like yeah, he had that thing with his ex, but he didn't really do anything wrong except for making a bad decision to follow her across the country. But like she
Exactly.
was the one who kept ending it, and he's just like you said, he's such a fixer, which is just a theme in this series. He really just wanted to do anything he could to help her out, which I thought was cute. I did note though that like I wish at the end he had fought a little bit harder for her when I think it's right after they do the Secret Santa and he's bringing her home and she just kind of has like a switch up in the car and she's like, no, I want you to leave. And he's just like, oh, okay. And like takes the dogs, leaves. And then next day he's getting on a plane. I just felt like almost too much of a cinnamon roll where like he didn't have a backbone to
Yep.
fight for her. And even at the end, I think if they go a month before they see each other again. And it's only because she has sent him the letter being like, okay, I'm ready now. Like he was ready to just be like, oh, she doesn't want me. Like I'm just going to go back to California. So I just wish that he had a little bit more fight in him.
Agreed.
personally, but I did love the big grand gesture he did with the letters on the tree. I thought that was really sweet.
So that was my biggest thing that I loved about this book was I liked how both of them said, "Oh, our grandkids will never be able to see
Hmm.
the letters that we wrote. It's just going to be asking to slide into your
Yeah,
DMs and
like print
read
out
what
your
people have
DMs.
said."
Yeah.
I don't know why that just brings me back to AIM and printing out, conversations with people. That was our social media vibe back then. But yeah, I just love that. I thought that was so cute. I kind of wish they did that more throughout the book. It would have been cute if they had letters back and forth and they weren't,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't
that would
know.
have
I
been a
just
nice
thought that was
touch.
really cute. Yeah. But I really, really liked how at the end that was the huge gesture because I thought that was
Hmm.
adorable. And then,
Yeah.
they can save these for their future, their kids and their grandkids to read, which I thought was cute.
And so for the rest of the town, I guess I just kind of grouped them together as like townspeople because,
You're so good. I didn't write any notes on townspeople.
okay, so you have no thoughts on them.
I have thoughts, but I forgot about them entirely. I go, oh, it's just these two the whole book. So maybe that's a point I can bring up later, but I'm going to let you lead this one because you have notes.
Okay, I have literally like two sentences. I loved getting to see the other couples again from Pumpkin Spice Cafe in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, but I wish that I guess this is more like plot what I put in the townspeople, but like they're just not very present in the book because Kira is not integrated into the community. She becomes
Yeah.
more integrated towards the end, but it happens all off page, which I did not love. So I just felt like the townspeople were lacking in this book. They were there, but they weren't doing anything.
All right. I think this is why I had no notes because the whole book was focused on them being in the snowstorm and being at the farm. That was majority of the book. So for me, at the beginning, they had the town hall. Let's try and get her to be more welcoming. Oh, Bennett, we volunteer you as tribute. And that was the biggest part. And then, like you said, at the end for Christmas, and that was kind of it. And then it was off
Mhm.
screen. But yeah, I wish they brought them in more. I would have liked if they were meddling in the relationship because that was the whole thing in the first two was the town meddled in, kind of did their own thing, played along, whatever. And this one just definitely felt isolated in a way from the rest of the town. So that might be why I have no
Mm.
notes on them.
They were there, but they weren't doing anything.
Yeah, I just kind of said, all right, they're not here. We're just moving on.
That's why I literally grouped them like Iris, I think, had the most screen time,
Oh, yeah. And I
which makes
think
sense. She's the
hers is
next
the
book.
next. Yeah. So I was going to say, okay, obviously
I don't know
they
how she's
introduced the
running
new
like
person.
the pancake house while also working at the Christmas farm, but we'll find out.
I have no idea. I had the same thoughts, but I probably should read these descriptions better because I didn't realize half of the stuff that was in this description. I go, it's Christmas. Let's read it. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what I
same.
felt.
I
So,
didn't read it either. Reading it at the beginning of this episode was the first time I've read it.
yep.
Uh, okay, so there really wasn't any other characters, big characters. So let's move
Yeah.
into the plot. Like, what were your thoughts on the plot of the book?
Okay. So the biggest thing for me was, and I mentioned it a few moments ago, was the fact that the whole story was based in this snowstorm. I would have loved if there was more to the story in terms of them going out in the town and them doing activities for Christmas and really trying to get the hype around her farm and everything there because it really wasn't a lot. It was just kind of she has a farm. People are coming after this one day of advertising when they were lighting the tree. And then that was kind of it. And they stayed in the house for a while. They had the dogs were in it at some point here and there. It was like the only extra characters were the three dogs that Bennett owns. So I would have liked a lot more. And, to your point that you had said earlier about their vibes for each character, is Bennett definitely was cinnamon roll, kind of just there, willing to help out. Yes, ma'am, do whatever, all that stuff. And I would have liked if we had a little bit more there to kind of go back and forth. And again, to your point earlier with how at the end when she freaks out and basically says, you need to leave, take me home, I'm done. I do wish there was more because it was kind of just oh, it's one. big thing in Kira's mind, and that's it. So I would have liked there was a lot more, either a fight or something. Like, give us something to go off of. But I don't know if it's just the series, and maybe you have different thoughts, but it definitely seems like one person has a different idea, gets upset, alienates themselves for a little bit, and then they realize it afterwards. It's very hallmarky of quick, we fight, little argue, and then peace out. So I don't want to sound as if I'm shitting on the book by any means, because I thought it was freaking cute. The whole series is cute, but in terms of plot, there wasn't a lot. It was cute. That's the warm, cozy feeling. That's kind of what I had. TLDR is those three words.
I think the Hallmark description is perfect. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have like some problem we're trying to solve, but at the end, it's all gonna get resolved. It's nothing crazy that they're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
It's very wholesome. It's cozy. It's just for the vibes. It's nothing. I don't think anyone is going to read any of the books in this series and be like, that was my favorite book of the year. You'll just be like, oh, it was a good book. It's not
Mm-hmm.
anything I think you're going to remember for years to come. It's not going to change your life. So yeah, they're definitely not plot heavy at all. I do think it would have been cool if that mystery element that had come in the beginning. So like Bennett was asked by the townspeople to get close to Kira, go to the farm because they thought a dead body was buried there or treasure was buried there from the previous owner. And he went with them and he was doing that a little bit in the beginning. And then once he realized he liked her, that just all went to the side and it really didn't circle back until the epilogue. I think that could have been like a different approach to a book in the series because they do feel like they all follow the same formula. But I don't know. I feel like that maybe would have taken away from the vibes of it. It would have just been something different. And
Yeah.
then I did like how, as I mentioned earlier, with the townspeople, like I felt like this book, it's probably my least favorite out of the whole series. Not to say that like I hated it, I just think I liked the other ones better. And I think because this one was lacking that community feel, the small town vibe, because she was trying to stay away from everyone for so long. So I did like when we got little glimpses of it in the plot. So when the two, I think they were college kids that she had hired to come and like load Christmas trees on the car, they called out. So she's like, I'm gonna do it myself. And then all the guys from the previous books, they're like, we'll help you do it. And they like jumped in. And I did like when she was starting to interact with them more, but like again, just felt like it happened off page. She talked to Iris because Iris was her employee, but I wish she like chatted with Jeannie and Hazel more and they were doing like couple thing, especially because Bennett was Jeannie's brother. Um, and even at Secret Santa, like she didn't participate. She was just there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like cozy vibe. The plot was very like, she's just struggling with like her house falling apart. He wants to fix it for her. She wants to be independent. That was the main plot point. I thought the mystery thing could have been cool. And I like the part of like, I like reading a small town romance because I like everyone being in everyone's business. And I felt like no one knew what was going on between the two of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing because the first two, it felt as if the town was so invested in both relationships that they knew what was going on. They were really trying to advocate for each person of, oh, they're a great, this is a great guy. You really should go after them. Who cares that, they have this problem, they're grumpy or whatever. And this one just felt, yeah, it's the brother of Jeannie, and that's all we have. We don't have anything else on either of them. They were completely outsiders. If you really think about it, everyone else, there was at least one person that had lived in the town for a while. And this one was just two people that were completely on the outside. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how the rest of the series is. I will continue reading the rest of the series in the sense of I just like how cute they are, but I'm curious if it brings it back to the town people being involved more because this one I just like you said, I just miss them being in it because small town, you got to have nosy people. You need someone who's just bothering you 24/7.
Yeah, and I think it was because like Kira moved here from Georgia. She was new. No one really knew her. And Bennett was Jeannie's brother and he was just here visiting for the holidays. So yeah, like you brought two outsiders together. So obviously they
Yeah.
don't have those bonds with the community. So I think the next one will because Iris has been here forever and it's her stories and she like owns a business in the town. So I think we'll get back to it. I just felt like it was missing that little like warm hug of the community.
Yep. Agreed.
And then I guess we can just move into like any other last random thoughts we had on this book before we move to the next one?
My biggest thing actually was to do with the treasure and trying to find that. And I liked how in the epilogue we find out that they, Edwin, who was the previous owner of the farm, did indeed bury treasure because he didn't want his cousin to get it, I think, which I thought was hysterical. Such a family vibe of just, the one person who would have gotten your inheritance. You don't want them to get it. I really liked how they found it at the end. To your point, I wish it was involved more because it would have been super cool to see them trying to find it along the farm. And I also really liked how she ended up adopting a dog, and I believe he had the same name. His name was Bennett too, and she calls him Benny. So I thought that was adorable. And now they have 4 dogs. They're just chilling. She was such a dog person over a people person. You could totally tell. The entire book was just this is my type of person. I could be friends with you because, dogs and then people. But it was really cute. I feel like I'm going to say that 5 billion times. So, but I'm not sure what you had or if there were any other comments that you had for it.
I liked that she was such an animal person too, because at the end she's like, maybe we'll get reindeers. Like, I felt that. But these are so random, these two comments, but they really just were ingrained in my brain. I hated that he called her Peaches. Now I got it because she was from Georgia, Georgia Peach, whatever. She didn't even like it though because of that competition. But all I could think about was Miss Peaches. Do you know who that is? Dave
I
Portnoy's
do.
dog.
I do.
So
Yeah,
every time
unsee
he
that
said
now.
Peaches, I just thought of Miss Peaches, and when he's like Peachy, and like it's all I could think about.
Okay, side note on this. The only other thing I can think of with Peaches is Jack Black's singing Peaches, the
Oh,
song
that's a good
from
one. I didn't even
the
think of that.
movie. Now that's all that's in my head,
So
but
that
I digress.
yeah, so I could not think of anything else, and especially when the letters got like a little dirty at the end, I was like, "Miss Peaches, what are you doing?"
It's Peaches.
So that was just like, this is where my brain goes when I'm reading most random things. And then the second thing was at the end when he comes back and he's putting the letters like on the tree. She has now adopted this dog. She goes outside with the dog, not on a leash, knowing that his 3 other dogs are out there. I'm sorry, you could have the most gentle dogs, but they might just like not get along with one and their whole personality changes. And I was like, bad dog parenting.
Oh
It's
my
all I
god,
could
I
focus
thought
on.
the
Like,
same
where's the leash?
thing. Yeah, because she even said that the dogs were kind of circling each other, trying to figure out if they liked each other. I
Yeah,
go,
I highlighted
this
that
is
part.
anxiety.
Like, you're lucky that it worked out well. They could have just attacked each other.
Yeah,
So, just like two
could have said,
things, two very random thoughts I had.
I can't unthink of Miss Peaches. Oh, thank you for that.
Oh my god. I love Miss Peaches too. That's why she's always top of mind for me.
My sister-in-laws love that dog, so all they talk about when we see each other is Miss Peaches. Did you see the latest on Miss Peaches? I go, no, you update me on this. I don't look for this.
Miss Peaches got a brother,
Oh,
which
really?
was fun. I can't remember the brother's name though. Yeah, they got a little beagle. Oh, Pete. Pete the beagle
Pete?
is now Miss
Interesting.
Peaches' little brother.
Okay.
Yeah, it's her brother.
All right.
But yeah, that was all I had for extra thoughts, and I guess we'll just close it out with, do you feel like this, would you like, if someone was saying, I was looking for a Christmas book, I'm looking for a holiday book, would you put this on your recommendation list for holiday themed books?
Yes and no. I thought it was cute and cozy. So yeah, that would hit the vibe of around the Christmas time because I feel like for me, holidays are definitely that cozy feeling of getting together with family and friends, all of that. But in terms of feeling the super vibe of getting ready for the holidays, no. This could have been read in September and it would have been fine of, oh, get ready for the holidays this early on. You
Mhm.
don't need to read this as a super jazzed up vibe.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you.
It was definitely festive with the aspect of a Christmas tree farm, but I didn't feel like it focused on the actual holiday too much. Like they had the Secret Santa scene, she had like a Santa come to the farm, and then she went to a tree lighting. But other than that, it wasn't a ton of Christmas themed events that they were talking about. Um,
Yeah.
And yeah, I think if you like removed the element of it being a Christmas tree farm, like if it was just a regular farm, it might have it wouldn't really have that feel. But I would say if you're looking for like a wintry vibe
Yeah.
on the perimeter of Christmas.
Yeah, those extra couple months on each side. You could say, all right, this is the vibe, but it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be for
Like
Christmas.
yeah, like I don't think like end of December, oh, you can't read this book. You have to hold it for next year. I think you can still read it like into January, maybe early Feb.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's everything that we have on Christmas Tree Farm. So do we want to move into the next book? Okay, editing Michaela here. You're going to see a big jump between the previous clip and the one that's coming up, and that's because we had so many tech problems. So we lost pretty much all of Meg's audio and video footage of her introducing the next book and reading the description. So I'm going to do that here. Don't mind the setup. So for our second book, we read How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Meghan Quinn, which is her latest release. Living in a year-around Christmas town has its drawbacks. The caroling, the decorations, the insanely cheery spirit, it never disappears. It's why I like to hibernate away in my cave. I mean house, keeping a healthy distance from the holly jolly spirits. And all was going according to plan until my nemesis, Story Taylor, moved in next door to care for her Aunt Cindy. Without blinking, she turned my simple world into a real nightmare before Christmas, especially when she decided to enter the town Christmas Kringle contest, which she was determined to win. Well, guess what? Over my cold-hearted body. There was no way I was going to let her win, not after the history we'd shared. So despite my promise to myself of never participating in the sickening Christmas season, I entered the competition as well. That's right, I planned on beating Story at her own game by pretending this grump's heart grew 3 sizes this season. And it was working until feelings between us started heating up. We pretended to date, we kissed, and well, sparks flew from there. Which led to one explosive night involving Christmas lights, the competition, and a ladder. Don't let me convince you who stole Christmas. I think you need to find out for yourself. And then we did also lose the audio of us going over our first rating for this. So for characters, we both rated it 5 out of 5 stars. And now we're going to jump into the next clip where we go over the rest of our ratings. Again, sorry about this. Lots of tech issues, but we're making it work.
So next up we had Spice. What was your rating for that?
I gave it a 4. I felt
Okay.
like there was a lot of crazy scenes, but I definitely know that there's books that have crazier. What did you do?
I did 4 as well. Same thought. Okay, next was plot. What did you have for a rating there?
I gave it a 4. I liked it.
Okay.
What did you do?
I did 4 as well. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. The vibe that she gave it. Okay, and then we had banter. What do you have for banter?
I gave this one a 5 because I felt like all the characters had good banter. It wasn't just the main couple.
Okay, that's fair. I did a 4. And I think I
Okay.
focused it more on the 2 characters instead of the whole group, which if I was looking at the whole group overall, I would say yeah, it's probably a 5. And then your overall, what do you have for that?
Okay, so you're going to hate this. I gave it a 4.75 only for the fact I feel like I can't give a holiday book a 5. And when we get into like characters and plot, there was just something in story that I didn't love. So it held me back a little bit. But on Goodreads, I gave it 5. Editing Michaela here again. The audio and video issues just continue to plague this episode. So you just heard my rating of the book, but we lost the audio of Meg talking about her rating. She gave it a 5, but then also said she understood where I was coming from the 4.75 and keeps forgetting that she can give decimal point ratings, but she has it as a 5.
Hello, editing Meg here. As you can see by the outfit change and everything here, there have been technical issues like crazy, and obviously it was my fault for all of that. So you're getting the TLDR hot takes on Story and Cole because obviously the audio is trash. For Story specifically, I didn't have a lot on her, mainly because I thought she was hilarious and a perfect opposite for Cole. She was super determined to help Aunt Cindy win the competition by facing her fears of embarrassment from the years ago, a few years ago, back in the exact town when she kind of knocked that woman into the river. And like Mick had said too, her reason for not coming back was kind of weird. And I also think her reason why she might have not wanted to stay was weird too, because she had, the ability to work from anywhere and all of that. So there were definitely things she could have done differently there. But obviously, Mick has a way better description, so I'm going to let you listen to her side of things, and then I will be back to talk about Cole.
I thought she was so funny. I loved her sassy attitude about everything. And I felt like she had a lot of growth over the course of the book. Like, it was really cool to watch her fall back in love with the Christmas season and the town and being around her family. Um, and as I was saying earlier, for like why I felt like I couldn't give it a five, I just felt like her reason for not visiting for 10 years was kind of dumb. Like, yes, embarrassing that you knocked over a wooden present and then sent that woman like rolling into the river, but I don't feel like that's enough reason to literally not visit your aunt who is like in her 90s for 10 years. Yes, it's a small town, they're going to remember things like that, but you kind of have to just like shake it off. And then she took it to the extreme. Like, she hung out in her apartment. She celebrated Christmas by herself because she was so embarrassed about like what had happened. So that was the only thing I didn't love about her character. But everything else, the way she spoke to people, the way she was just like, I am not doing that, I absolutely loved.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about Cole. I absolutely love a good grumpy male character. It's probably one of my favorite things in a book. So this one definitely hit home for me. I love how we get to see, though, how his story transitions, where he's super rough and rigid and doesn't really let anyone in and kind of just keeps to himself. And then the ice slowly melts and we get to see his true self as the story goes. But he had a lot going on, obviously, in his life, with his parents passing away 10 years ago, and the fact that when that happened, Story kind of was complaining about the town, and it just really didn't settle well with him. So he got even more grumpy, and I think she kind of brought out extreme grumpiness from him at the beginning when they see each other and kind of reunite. And obviously, he was a hermit and didn't really talk to anyone, and everything was covered in the house and all of that. But like I was saying, as the story unfolds, you get more of that goofy side. Him and Max kind of really join together and become this crazy power group, and his smart ass self kind of appears, and I just love how we get that, because sometimes it's a flip, switch, and they go from super grumpy to really happy, but I like how this slowly you got each piece. I mean, he definitely showed off for the town with, pretending that he was obsessed with Story and had this huge crush, and they started fake dating and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. But he does slowly add more and more pieces, and, slowly makes his house kind of turn into a home again and all that. And like I said, it really just goes to Story helping him open up and get away from the rock he was living under. So that was awesome to see. That was all I had, but I'm going to throw it over to Mick to hear what she has to say.
I really liked him. Like, he was definitely grumpy sunshine in the beginning, but once you learned his backstory about how his parents had passed away and it was right around the Christmas time, and like he really hadn't processed that grief yet, it made complete sense, like why he acts the way he acts. And like it kind of justified his actions and behaviors to me, especially like his kind of like disdain towards her and her entering the competition, because she had made that comment about like hating the town on the day that he found out his parents had passed away. So like I totally understood where he was coming from. And I just thought it was really sweet to watch him again over the course of the story, like kind of remove that grumpy layer, but also process his grief and really address it, because he didn't. Like, his house was completely covered. It was untouched from when his parents were last there 10 years ago. So it was nice to see him like slowly chip away at that and then fall in love with the season again.
So one big piece that I thought that helped Cole get out of his grumpiness and change kind of his personality, which we see through the entire book, is the connection that he has with Atlas, or Max, his nickname in the book. So I just wanted to pivot there to his character for a second, because I feel like he played such a huge part in Cole's, I don't know, rebirth of being his own person again, for lack of better words. I thought he was so entertaining. He was the perfect side character that just brought so much to the story. He had such weird ideas too. From the candy cane making to the different baking competitions that they had. It was just so good. I loved him so much, and I don't know. I wish I could have had more of him on the page. I understand it's about the two main characters, but I just loved his character. I don't know. What about you?
I also thought he was absolutely hilarious. I loved the banter between him and Cole. I felt like it just made the whole book. I loved his stupid ideas that he was bringing to the competition. Like, no, we need to be dressed up as the Grinch. Like, we're adding pineapple to this. He was like, don't worry, my mom can teach us how to bake the fruitcake. He was just all over it. I did wish we got a whole book on, because at the end you find out that the following year he's entered the competition, and thankfully you had the extended epilogue, so we find out like what happened to him in the competition. But I genuinely wish she would have done a sequel with his whole time on the competition, because I feel like you would have just been belly laughing with him. And I love that he was called the Holly Jolly
I
Sidekick.
Okay. The nicknames, perfect. You know, we talk about nicknames all the time on how much we don't necessarily love the nicknames that people get. But I just loved his nickname in this. To your point, though, too, I really question if it's one of those extended epilogues that we find out what happens, but then she writes a story down the line. I highly doubt that. This is just me really hoping that there's going to be a story for him. But if I have to take just the fact that he was in the epilogue, then so be it. I'll live with that. But man, could I have loved some more time with him because he was just perfection of a goofy person. So I know we talked about Atlas. I feel like I'm saying her name wrong, so help me out. But it's Taryn, right? I'm not saying that wrong.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. What did you think about her and her addition, I guess I would say, to the book?
I literally wrote in all caps, hated. She was just such a Scrooge. But you need her in the book. She definitely adds another element that you need. But I just hated how she acted like the boss, and like she was better than everyone else. She was so condescending when she would talk to Story. Granted, like she is the bigger, like the older sister, but she was just like, had no faith in her. And I did not love that. And she was 100% the reason the sisters were drifting apart, because she was so
Yep.
secretive. Story's trying to ask about her boyfriend and like all this stuff, and she's just like, one word answers. She just automatically takes the bedroom, even though she knew Story didn't like the other one. I don't know. She just gave me like that like mean older sibling energy. Um, and then what really sealed the deal for me was at the end when she took all the lights off of Cole's house without like knowing the full story. And it wasn't because she was trying to protect her sister. I don't think that her sister had anything to do with it. She was just mad that there was a potential that they were going to lose the competition. And I think she was just overly competitive, and she didn't even know the full story. And that's what pissed me off, because like if you just had asked, Story probably would have told her. But it was just such a Scrooge move to do. And I don't even think she came over to help them put it back up. I think she
Actually, I don't think so
I think she
either.
tried to apologize, and Story was like, this is not the time. I'm trying to fix this because this man is finally enjoying Christmas after his parents died 10 years ago. And yeah, I don't think we see her like come out with the town to help them. So you need her in the book for that like contrast, but her character was not redeeming in my eye.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. She was there. It was annoying at times, how she was brought in. Obviously, the whole point why Cole loses his mind at the end and thinks that it's stories because that she took down all of the lights and everything. And to your point about it's the first Christmas in the 10 years since his parents died that he's really getting back into the town and all the excitement there for a season that he seemed to really enjoy. And, we learn about the traditions that his mom had with him and everything. So she just did not think, except for the fact that she just did not want him to cause any issues with them winning the competition for Aunt Cindy, and that she was super frail, which I have a comment on that I want to get to later on about Aunt Cindy, but yeah, she was okay. I could do without her. And I'm fine if we never hear from her again.
I definitely don't want a book on her.
No, nope, I am with you there. Um, Aunt Cindy, how'd you feel about Aunt Cindy? I'm not sure if you had her separate or if you had her with the townspeople.
No, I had her separate. She was the best. I loved the twist at the end where she actually had lied about having the broken hip. I did not like think that was what was going to happen, but I just loved it that she planned it with their mom to get the girls to come and visit her and reconnect. It was perfect. Absolutely loved. I think it was during the first competition where she pretended to be on death's door to help manipulate the judges into giving Story the win. Like she put like all that like heavy makeup on. Um, that was really funny. And her obsession with Thunder from Down Under, which was also with the other older women in their community, absolutely hilarious. I it just like reminded me of something like my grandma would do. Like she just was reminding me of my grandma, and I was cracking up. I loved her. What did you think?
Oh my God. I loved Aunt Cindy. And to your point, the Thunder from Down Under thing, such a thing that our grandmothers would do. Because I thought about my grandmother too, and just how much she is into this Cowboys thing now. She loves seeing the Cowboys on our TikTok, which, by the way, yes, my grandmother has a TikTok and she had one before me. That's disturbing. Just side note there, unrealistic. But I just loved her. And then, like you said, with Martha and May, the twins in the matching tracksuits, the three of them were a force to be reckoned with. The one thing that I have about Aunt Cindy and Taryn, how did Taryn not notice that she didn't have scars or stitching from her surgery? Is it just me? Don't get me wrong. I know you're probably not wanting to look at your aunt that way, and she's washing all of her crevices, like they mentioned 5 million thousand times in the book, which is so gross to think of, but was so needed. Um, how do you not see that? Am I just thinking that you'd have this gnarly scar down your side? I don't know.
That is a great question. I didn't even think of that, but yes, you would have some type of like indication that they had to go in and repair said hip. So yeah, Taryn, she was this nurse. She was so smart, so much better than I would think she would have noticed. I also love that Aunt Cindy. Like she really was committed to the bit, and she was like, "You'll clean my crevices," and she didn't even need it.
So
And I
gross.
love that
You're
Taryn
willing
got
to just
assigned.
have your.
She hates Taryn too.
I loved it. Yeah, I've just nope, someone has to clean the crevices. I'm an old lady. I'm one step away from dying. And I think Cole at one point said, Cindy's tongue is draping out her mouth, just like pretending that she's completely dead in her wheelchair. And then the next second, she's jumping up and freaking out because they won. It was just she was, and then I think she said at the end of, "Oh, my theater instructor would be so proud of me of how I've done the past, you know, couple months with it." Just, I
She was
loved
awesome.
her.
She was a great character.
Oh my God, yeah. Um, okay, so we talked about I briefly brought up Martha and May, but I am curious on because we talked about the townspeople from the first book. So I want to give them justice because there were a lot of townspeople that we meet in this one, and they are very much in your business. So what did you have on them?
I loved how involved everyone was. Like that's what I was looking for. It's a small town. I want everyone in each other's business. But the pettiness between them was next level, especially I can't remember his name, the candy cane guy, where he was like, I refuse to give any of you lessons. You can go to the town next door to the guy who stole all my ideas. And then when your candy canes suck, we all know that he sucks. Like I just the pettiness was next level. I loved that they were
I
all
love it.
up in Story and Cole's relationship, like when they were kind of fake dating for the town. And then just it was so sweet at the end when they all rallied together and helped him, like helped Story put the decorations back on the house. It was just exactly what I needed from a small town. And I don't know if you've seen this movie, but at the end when they were putting the decorations on the house, it really reminded me of Christmas with the Cranks. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't, but I've heard of
Yeah.
it, so
So
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, they basically like their town or their street does like huge holiday light displays, and the husband decides like this year we're not doing it. We're going to take all the money we spend on Christmas and go on a nice vacation. And then one of their neighbors like gets sick, she has cancer, whatever. So then they decide, and the daughter comes home with her boyfriend. So they're like, we have to spend Christmas here, and the whole street like they were so mad that they were not decorating. Like they would like they were not getting along, and then at the end they just put their differences aside and they helped them like put this nice holiday Christmas dinner together and decorate the house. It was so sweet. It's just like, yeah, with the pettiness, like the nosiness, but at the end of the day, like you're all there to support each other. And I just loved it. They were written to perfection and the personalities were hilarious.
So what you literally just described is pretty much family dynamics where you can totally go against each other, have competitions, that super sibling competition, whatever you want to call it. And then, but at the end of the day, it is a close knit family. And this town totally exemplified everything there. It's just, I love how 1 second they're totally willing to sabotage each other. But then the next, they are more than willing to drop everything and say, okay, I don't care about this competition anymore. I just want this person to be, cheerful again. Because if you think about it too, with Cole being distant for the past 10 years, that entire town loved his family. They knew him as a boy and didn't want him to be this individual who was so shy and quiet. And I wouldn't say shy, maybe more just distant, didn't want to talk to anyone. So the fact that they kind of went in there and said, oh no, we are changing you for the better because you need it. Like, this is an intervention, basically. So I just, well done, Megan Quinn. The townspeople were amazing. Who I did not expect to be in this book, because I was just thinking of all the townspeople that were there. The narrator, just have to say, did not expect that, and I want your thoughts on this because perfect.
Yeah, because that came in like 10 chapters into the book or something. Like you were pretty, like you were a decent amount in, and then the first narrator scene came up. This was the best addition. I mean, without it, the book was already hilarious. That was such a good move for Megan Quinn. It really made me feel like I was watching like some old school Christmas movie, like the beginning of Elf when they're like setting the scene. And I loved that the narrator only talked to Cole, never talked to Story. And they had like such good banter between them. Like he'd be like, "Why are you doing this to me? I can make it worse." And then like next thing you know, like he's in a thong, like just doing something crazy. I thought the narrator really, especially in the epilogue, I thought it was really funny when he was like, when the Story is pregnant, and he was like, we have to be pregnant. And she was like, the narrator, after all that, you don't think you knocked this girl up? Of course you did. Like that, it just was, I don't know. It's just another comedic layer. I loved it. I think more books should do that. It was so good. Did you think of it?
Oh my God. I absolutely loved it. And then to add to it specifically, the banter between the narrator and Cole was perfection. What I loved too was the cute little poems. And I say cute, I probably shouldn't use that term, was the poems at the beginning of each chapter. It's just the rhyming and then where it went. Oh, it was
Some of
so
them got
good.
dirty too.
I,
Once they moved to like
yeah,
the
they did.
lovers part of enemies to lovers, she was rhyming pussy with some things. And I was like,
I'm in tears like I'm thinking of it because there were some that I read a couple times. I go, damn, Megan, this is really good. This is so entertaining. And it started off each chapter really funny because it kind of gave a little thing of where is this going to lead. But to your point, when they got more to the lovers part of it, it was just oh, you're going to get into a scene. And I don't know what's going to happen from this. I mean, we can get into more of the candy cane scene too, because that one, the rhyme that they had was hysterical and just perfect intro to that. But yeah, that was just such a, I did not expect it. I really hope that she does this for future books because it just brought it to another level that was not expected, but totally welcome.
yeah. And the poems, they also served as kind of like a recap for things that happened off the page. Like some of the competitions, we didn't have to sit there and read the scene of like fifth place, fourth place. It would just be like, and Jimmy won, and Story's crying, like a nice poem where it was like quick. These are the results. Now we're after the competition. So I liked that it kind of bridged the gap for off page scenes.
Agreed, because there definitely would have been a repetition of, and we did this competition, and then this is the result, and we did this and that, and it gave space for other things to become the focus, which you totally needed in this story. I mean, um, there were just certain parts that were more important than hearing about the competition solely. So I really liked how they did that. So it, I don't know. I feel like I should be rating this book higher with how certain parts were. So 10 out of 10. If we can include the narrator as a definite character, then 100% like perfection there. And I know that we talked about the competition. So that was a huge theme across the entire book. I mean, that was the huge focus point was the two of them going head to head in this competition. What did you think about that being kind of the focus point? But was there anything else that stuck out to you in terms of the plot? Because for me, that was a big piece.
Yeah, I had that as like really the main plot of the story is watching them go through the competition and how their relationship evolves from there. So I don't have too much on it, but I loved the concept of a Christmas competition. I thought it really helped move the story along, and they got to learn things, and it gave them an excuse to interact. Also, perfect because they were set in a town that celebrates Christmas year round. I did think it was funny that they felt the need to also label someone as like the most Christmassy in this town. But no, the competition was great, and I loved the 5 different events they had to do. I thought it was really funny and how the judges switched out and they had to like manipulate certain people and play up certain things. So I liked it, and I thought it gave them a good way to advance the relationships, and you got to meet different characters in the town.
I have to bring up the Cole and Atlas dressing up as the Grinch and the dog for was it the first competition? I didn't know a Grinch
I think
could
it was the
look like
second one.
this in my mind. Okay, that was hysterical. I know I sent you the screenshot of the illustrations that she has in the book, but oh my God, that was perfect. I thought it was so entertaining, and I weirdly could visualize the entire scene. And I don't know if that's disturbing in my mind that I had it perfectly like that, but everything she was describing was just the lederhosens and everything. I did not know this was going to be a piece that I needed in my life.
Yeah, that was perfect. It just goes to Max coming up with these crazy ideas for the competition. Yeah, that one was probably my favorite competition.
I agree. That was also the one that they had Aunt Cindy in the window and Story was singing to her and everything. And that was also the one that they did the ridiculous makeup to make her look half dead too. So it just played really well to the
Yep.
fact that she's singing to her aunt in a window and it's this huge emotional thing and the fact that she's half dead and or pretending to be it was just well done. Well
I
done.
also liked the caroling competition. I think it was like the third or fourth one where Story, Taryn, and Aunt Cindy recreated the scene from Mean Girls, the dancing scene.
I didn't expect them to go that way, but I loved it. And it's cringy to think in my mind of, I'm picturing a grandmother dancing up there to Mean Girls' rendition of that song. And it was just, oh my God, it was perfect. I was kicking and laughing the entire time. I don't know about you, but I mean, I feel like the whole time we've been talking about this so far, it's just been comedy, but that was just, oh my God, it was so
Oh
good.
yeah, I was like, if you told me this was obviously it's a romance book, but if you told me this was a comedy book, I would have believed you. I was chuckling out loud. I always laugh at her books, but this is probably the one I laughed at the most because it was just so unexpected. The lines that these people would say were hilarious. It was great.
Even down to I'm forgetting his name, but the guy and his wife who are Santa and Mrs. Claus and how they literally are in. That is their life. They're training their son to be the future Santa Claus. I mean, oh my gosh, it was so good. It just, oh yeah, it was honestly, I'm with you. It could have been more of a comedy. The romance part was there, and obviously the spice is there and all of that. But um, I don't even think I could have. It could have had that without it, and it would have been totally fine because of the way that she wrote this book was hysterical. It would have been perfect as just I'm reading a comedy today, and that's what I'm getting. So, it well done.
Yeah, it was really good.
What other thoughts did you have though? Because I feel like we went over a lot that happened. And I know we specifically have the candy cane scenes. I'm not sure if you wanted to jump into that, or if you had any other thoughts before we get into that one.
Yeah, we
Because
can jump into that. Let's do it. I
okay,
basically I don't want to. Well, I know we've said spoilers, but like I had seen her posting about like candy canes. She's doing so many TikToks with candy canes. And then I saw other people posting about like this scene is crazy. So I was like waiting, like when am I getting to the candy cane scene? It is chapter 25 for anyone who is looking for it. That was unlike anything I have read before, simply because that candy cane really traveled to places. and I didn't know where it was going to stop. That was the issue. Like, I was just like, okay, that I can handle. Okay, interesting. But I didn't know what the line was for where it was going to stop. And it was more so like it was being used as an arousal tool, but then them like eating the candy cane afterwards, I was like, interesting choice. I just, it was an interesting, and that was like their first time hooking up, right?
I thought so.
Yeah, so that's an very, very crazy way to like first experience because now you got to top that every time.
Okay. Not only that, but she's obviously, they're in the barn and she is tied up to the barn, like the post in the barn and everything. So on top of the candy cane being experienced, there's a lot more to it that just added an interesting element. And like you said, that this is the first experience of it. Where are you going from this? Um, I don't know why, but please tell me if I am off in left field by myself here. But I just, at one point, you were saying how you didn't know when it was gonna stop. At one point, I started saying out loud, "Is this gonna get unsanitary?" Because in my head, I'm thinking of things that I hope to God it's not going to, but I just didn't know how far we were gonna go with this candy cane and where it was going, what places it was gonna be entering, shall I say, for lack
Oh,
of.
I was on that same path. I thought it was going to enter
Okay,
places.
okay. Thought so too. Because I literally just sat there. I had to pause. I go, this is the most interesting scene I think I have read in my entire experience of reading these types of books. And never did I expect to look at a candy cane differently. And I saw them the other day at the store and I go, I can't buy these right now because unfortunately this is what's in my mind and I can't undo that right now. So, uh, yeah, it was unexpected. Now seeing the TikToks after reading it is even funnier. Just the fact that she's been advertising candy canes like crazy. It's so funny. It's just really good.
Yeah, it was good. It lived up to the hype, I thought.
I agree. It definitely, well done, Megan. Well done with your usage of candy canes in a way that I did not expect.
I will not look at them the same.
I definitely will not. Were there any other thoughts that you had though in terms of the story that we didn't touch on?
The only, because I think we touched on my first two items. The only thing was I wish we just got a little bit more of the flashbacks of Story and Cole as kids and like how their crush developed. Because I didn't know if they were like romantic when they were younger or if it was just friends and they just had crushes from a distance. I thought that could have been cool, but honestly, like no notes on this book. I really enjoyed everything and it was perfection.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think more of my comments actually were just when I was laughing out loud of what parts of the town were so cracked out hysterical. Of one thing that stood out to me specifically, and I actually highlighted it and I don't know why, but was Prancer's bar and their secret drink menu. And I wrote them down because I was in tears laughing, but they had Santa's balls, antler sex, tinsel tits, and reindeer hole. That part already broke me, and I said this is going to be an interesting book to read if this is where we're starting with the series. It's just the fact that this is what we're getting.
Their little secret menu they had going on.
That was perfect. I love that. I thought that was really good. It definitely added a different element to the here's the town and this is the image we have to keep up for, obviously for outsiders who are traveling. But I really just liked how they also had a very weird version of themselves in it. So it was really good. But yeah, most of my notes were pretty much just from a comedy standpoint, not anything to do with what I would change of the book at all.
Yeah, she just added like perfect little elements that like things around the town in the stores and stuff. It's like perfection.
I just thought of this. Can we talk about Aunt Cindy's obsession with American Girl dolls? Um,
That
I
was
had a
funny. I was like,
couple of
just
them as a kid, but
Samantha.
I can't look at them the same way. I'm just thinking of them creepily turning their head at you and just hello, like the awkward robotic doll for you vibe. Oh God, no, couldn't do it.
A couple dolls, fine, but it sounded like the room was covered. But I love that she selected American Girl doll. I was just, and And I had one too. I had Samantha, and I loved it. But I loved when Story
I
described each of the American girls. That was really funny.
Yeah, I love her description of each of them because they had their own. She had a whole different story and background for each of them compared to what, like, when we were had them as kids and what their story actually was. It just, this one's judgmental and whatever, and the creepy eyes. And she had to turn all their heads around for her to fall asleep at night. It was just, it's so good.
It was really funny. Yeah, I liked that part a lot. And she's like, the dolls are watching me.
Yeah. Were there anything else that we didn't touch on for this book? Because I feel like there was just so much in it packed into this book.
Yeah, there was a lot. I think we got to all the big stuff, though. I think so.
I think so too. Um, I feel like we've alluded to it, but what would you say in terms of this being holiday feels, Christmas vibe book? Does it get you in the mood for the holidays and ready to go?
Oh my God. Yes. I like want to go and do all these competitions. I wish I lived in this town where it was just Christmas year round, just the joy. I loved it. But I also feel like if I picked this book up in the spring or the summer, like I would be laughing and it would be fine. But perfect Christmas book. It's probably my top recommendation of this year for Christmas holiday themed books.
Yeah, I agree. I read a few others that are Christmassy vibes, and I think this just hit the standard for me, and they're not hitting it. I mean, they definitely have hit some type of the Christmas feel, um, but this one is just, as much as I loved reading it when we did, because it's really funny, but I feel like I could go back and read this the week before Christmas and have such a fun time again reading it. And then, but then again, to your point, I could read this at any time and it would be hysterical because it was so focused on the comedy. It wasn't just Christmas threw up in a book and that's all you get. There was so much more to it than just that. So, but yeah, well done. It was so fun. I actually really want to read it again, but I know I shouldn't because I have way too many on my TBR list. So this will have to take a back burner to next year.
Next year, do a reread.
Exactly. All right. So for our next episode, it'll be releasing on December 4th. We will be deep diving Rebecca Yarros's romance novels. So in the likely event in variation. For more things Booktrovert, if you want to keep up with us, see what we're reading and what we're discussing, and then follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Booktroverts Pod. Leave a rating, review, book recommendations. Love some more Christmas ones if you have that. And we'd love to hear your thoughts as always. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.